Right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Under the Hat. Very excited to be joined by a very special guest, winner of 6 European Tour events with a very strong affinity with the KLM Open, which we'll dive into a little bit before, but talking about his journey from being a great player to becoming a great coach, I'd like to welcome 6-time European Tour winner Simon Dyson to Under the Hat. Welcome, Simon. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I'm excited for this because you are the epitome of kind of what we are trying to portray now for players in terms of not necessarily creating a plan B, but understanding that there is something else other than playing, and your ability to be able to draw upon your experiences of 18 years or so playing at the very highest level, I think, is invaluable to the players that you end up working with. So it must have been exciting as a player, mustn't it? So just talk us through the early years and what your goals were initially when you wanted to play and make it to the top.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the amateur circuit. I got offered a couple of scholarships out in America, and I kind of felt the best way for me to play the Walker Cup was to stay in the UK. I was fortunate enough that my parents, allowed me to do that, and they funded everything for me to play. And I managed to do it, which was a dream of mine as an amateur. And there was I had a couple of options. I went to try and get my European Tour card. I failed at second stage, and then it was Pete Cowan. I remember sitting down with him, and he's like, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Oh, I think I might just play a bit in England, like the equivalent of the Euro Pro and stuff like that." And he just went, "No, you're not." He said, "I've got you a sponsor. You're going to go out to Asian Tour." I was like, "What?" But he said, "You need good competitive golf, and you're not going to get it here if you're not on the European Tour." So we went out there, and do you know what? It's the best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did. I know your lads out there, great platform, get world-class, competition, play nice courses. And it's the best thing I ever did. And it's still, to this day, one of the best years of my life. And then I just kind of progressed from there. I played out there for a couple of years. First year, my rookie year, I won 3 times and won the Order of Merit. And that kind of got me on the European Tour, and then that was it. I stayed on the European Tour. I had a little blip in 2003. I lost my card in 2003, but then I still had my playing rights in Asia, and I went out and played in the China Open and finished second, and that kind of got me back on track.
That must have been a baptism of fire for a little blonde-haired kid from Yorkshire.
Unbelievable. There wasn't any factor 50s back then, so I was struggling a little bit. But do you know what? Like I said, it's the best thing I ever did. And I owe it all to Pete, because I would never thought to do that. And he's the one who I was with him 26 years, Pete. I believe he's one of the best, if not the, the way he explains things. And I've kind of morphed a little bit into him in the respect of he just keeps it so simple. And he has multiple ways of explaining how to hit the same shot, and that's what I loved about him. If I didn't get it the first time, he'd give me another example, and then if I didn't get that, he'd give me another example of how to hit it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I understand now. That's why I never left him, because he knew my game inside out. I started with him when I was 14 and finished with him, when I was nearly 40. So
Yeah, fantastic. We'll dive a little bit more into that a little bit later on. I just want to go and dive into a little bit more about who you are and kind of what makes you tick. I'm going to call you a prolific winner, but I mean, who is Simon Dyson that facilitated 6 wins on the European Tour and over what 10 million euros in the bank from your playing career?
I would say 3 words that describe me better than anything is gutsy, gritty Yorkshireman. Every pound's a prisoner, so you want to earn as much money. No, I'm only joking. But I was, you know, I wanted to win. I was, you know, I lost my temper, and it held me back a bit because I so just wanted to win. Because you get a taste of it, you want more. You know, you see these top boys, they just want to win. They've experienced it. So to win once is great, but you want it again. You really do. And I managed to do that. Sorry.
I mean, when you first won in Indonesia, did you feel like you stumbled over the line, or did you really finish as you wanted to? Did you snatch it?
Yeah. No, I was comfortably clear, and then the kid that was closest to me made a bit of a hash of the 7th. I eagled it, he double bogeyed it, so I went about 4 or 5 clear. But then he started really clawing back because he had nothing to lose. You know, we were way ahead of the field, so it was me against him. And I just played really nice, sensible golf. It didn't get to me the occasion, and I mean, I remember hitting a 2-iron out of a fairway bunker over water, and it's still the best shot I think I've ever hit. And it didn't get shot of the month on Sky Sports Golf, and I was devastated on European Tour. It didn't get it, and I couldn't believe it because I thought, well, if that don't win it, I'm never going to win it. But no, the one thing I always felt that when I had a chance of winning, I could take it. There was only one occasion where I blew it, and that was in China, where I was 6 clear, but I'd not won at this point. I was 6 clear going into the last round, and I learned a lot from it because, you know, I love talking about mindset in golf, and everything that I did that day was, what don't I want to do? Sure. And I focused too much on that. Oh, don't go there. Don't do this. Don't do that. And when you're thinking about what you don't want to do, inevitably that's what you do. Yeah. And anyway, I finished 2nd in the end, and you know, it was a good experience for me because when I got in that position again, my mindset was different in the way of thinking, right, let's go and win it. And I feel like I won my tournaments. I was never handed them. Sure.
What I wanted to just ask you a little bit about not fear of failure, but fear of success. Did you ever feel that? I mean, in my lowly playing career, I made 7 straight birdies in a tournament once, and I stood on the 8th tee. It was the first 7 holes as well. I stood on the 8th tee, and I said to myself, there's no way I can birdie the 8th hole. I mean, it's just crazy. This is ridiculous. And of course I didn't. And it spiraled out of control. And I remember a few years later, actually, I was 5 under through 4 in a social round. And I just decided to walk in because I said, this isn't going to get any better. So we went straight to the bar. But I mean, how do you deal with possible fear of success in that situation? Did you feel that?
No, I never did, to be fair. And I'll give you an example. The Asian Q School final stage, 2000. So I tee off in the final on the first day of the final stage. So I'm thinking, finish top 25, I get my Asian card. And I was 5 under through 5. And then we all know what Asia's like. The heavens opened, the thunderstorms came in, and they wiped the day. And they basically turned to all the players and went, right, it's going to be a 3-round tournament. So to have that, such an unbelievable start, to have it wiped was demoralising. But I woke up the next day, I'd had a chat with my caddy, I'd spoke with Pete, and Pete basically said, let me tell you something, if you've done it once, you can do it again. And sure enough, I was 5 under through 5 the next day. And it was just the ability to forget about it and move on. And I learned to be able, when I got into Europe, I forgot how to do that. And then I remember playing with Ernie Els in Australia, and his ability to do that was better than anybody I'd ever played with. And all of a sudden it re-triggered me to think, oh yeah, I remember doing that when I played in Asia. Right, I need to start processing that and learn how to do that again. And I did. And that is one massive thing that I focused on heavily, was the ability to put what had happened behind me and look forward. And that's when my career changed, to be honest. That's when, you know, I got to top 30 in the world, and with the ability to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. On the note of closing things out, I mean, so many players, actually so many professional athletes, regardless of their sport, talk about staying in the moment, being objective, focusing on the one next objective that sits in front of them. I mean, is that something you subscribe to? And if you did, how can you facilitate that? From my perspective, I find that really difficult to do, but I think it requires training, great coaching, positive kind of approach to things. But how did you deal with that?
I suppose the big factor for me was kind of the team I had around me. I had a very positive team. My caddy was really positive. And whenever I was in the mix, I found it quite natural just to take it shot by shot. Obviously, your mind's going to wander, isn't it? You know, you get to Paris National or something, you've got a 5-iron for your second shot into the 18th. It springs into your mind, even if you stood on 14, you're thinking, well, I've still got that to come. But the quicker you can kind of forget about that and just think about each individual shot, and like the back 9 in Ireland when I won there, that's the best mindset I think I've ever been in, because it was literally shot by shot. 18's a tough hole, but I never thought about it once until I birdied 17, walked on the 18th, and I went, right, now we deal with it. Yeah. And I just, whenever I was in that position to win, I used to be able to not find it easy to stay in the present, but it just kind of came quite naturally, which I suppose I was quite lucky with. But I think that was from failures as well, learning from past failures about overthinking things and thinking, well, that didn't do me any good, so let's not do that again, and let's try this approach. And then all of a sudden you find one that works and you think, well, let's stick with that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What really excites me, Simon, about your journey is I don't think that there are many coaches out there who've won 6 times on the European tour or played for so long at the very highest level. I think you're fairly unique in that situation. And what excites me then is the benefits of your experiences that your players are going to get from you. But you mentioned the mentality behind it. I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you managed to win 3 times in Holland at the same tournament. I mean, you must have loved the golf course, but did you just get lucky with that and happen to play well on those weeks, or was there something a little bit more than that?
Do you know what? I think it was a mixture of a few things. I remember playing it for the first time. Brand new course. We went out, had a practice round, And I remember sat in the players' lounge, and a few of the lads were like, "So what do you think?" And straight away, I just went, "I absolutely love it." And they're like, "Do you?" I said, "Yeah." They were like, "Why?" I said, "Do you know what? I just see every shot. I said, it's quite clear to me what type of shot to hit." And they're like, "Oh, right." So, and then we got talking about certain holes, and I'm like, "Yeah, I see that shot." And I kind of had my game plan because I saw it very early on. And then obviously I got my win. I beat Richard Green in the playoff.
Mm.
And that was an amazing feeling because obviously I got my 3 wins in Asia in 2000. Then I'd won Indonesia. So I kind of heard the whisperings, well, he's only won in Asia. He's never won in Europe. So to win that was huge for me. And it gave me massive confidence. And then obviously we went back again. And it just brings back so many good positive memories when you've won somewhere to go back and play. It's like going back and playing the St Andrews. You know, I can almost see myself playing the Dunhill Links in 2009. So whenever I used to go back, it was just really positive. And prime example is the first hole. First hole, you kind of hit up onto a ledge and then you hit down to the green. And there's so much rubbish and Bondi left. But I just saw the shot drive her straight over the trees. I mean, if I pull it 10 yards, it's lost ball. But that's the shot I saw.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever missed the fairway. And all of a sudden, these lads are hitting 7-iron into the first, and I'm chipping a little sand iron. And I birdied it more times than I bogeyed it. And it gets you off to that positive start again. And it's just sticking with what you believe. And, you know, and that's kind of what I did around that course. And it just really suited my eye. As horses for courses, it's one of those.
Yeah.
And then obviously I won again, and then I won it again in 11, and then I finished second in 2014. And, you know, it's just it's a great place for me. And, you know, it's firm and fast. I don't flight the ball very high, so I could keep it nice and low, and I could just keep it in play, but still send it out there. And it really suited me.
It's really difficult to hit great golf shots, isn't it, when you can't see it?
Yeah, massively. You've got to be able to see it. Visualization of shots, of trajectories, flight type is so important. All great sportsmen do it, and it's no exception in golf.
Yeah. Do you find that I appreciate this might be an obvious question, but did you find that the shape of the hole dictated the shape of the shot?
100%.
Or was it more about the direction of the wind? I mean, were you a player that used to shape it into the wind to hold it up, perhaps, or would you let it ride the wind a bit more?
I would say it depended on the shot, on the hole shape. I really would. If there was a dog leg, say like 7th at Kenema is a par 5. The wind used to be kind of off the right, but it's a dog leg left to right. You know, I'd hold one up into the wind. I'd always try and go with the shape of the hole. And that's one thing me and Pete worked on a lot, is the shot shape. And, you know, I tell the players that I work with, you need to hit it both ways. There's no doubt about it. You can't just practice a draw, a 4-yard draw. You're going to need to hit a fade at some point. Because if you've got a dog leg left to right, and that wind's howling off the right, you're not going to hit a draw, are you? Because the fairway is going to be tiny for you. So you're always going to need to hit both shots. And that was the biggest asset I had, I would say. I could shape it both ways. I could flight it high, I could flight it low. I had quite a lot of control on the ball flight. And I would say I didn't have the prettiest swing, but I could strike it. I was a good ball striker. So, you know, technology, when you get that ball strike, doesn't move that much, does it?
No.
But I had the ability to kind of see the shot and just step up and hit it. And it wasn't until I came back from my wrist injury and I started getting way too technical that I actually lost my game. And now I'm back coaching and enjoying it. I see the mistakes that I made.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, I mean, you're very, very young in your coaching career, but when you interact with the students that you have, do you think visualization is natural, or do you think it's nurtured and coached?
I think it's a bit of both. I think you can definitely nurture it and you can definitely work at it. I do a lot of, talking out loud. Tell me what shot you see. I almost say to them, right, I'm not here. You're talking. Say we're on a golf course, and I'm saying to them, right, I'm speaking to you on a phone, or I'm listening to you on the radio. Explain this hole to me and what shot you're going to hit. And you get some players, and they'll do it, and they'll turn around to me and go, "Is that right?" I'm like, I don't know. It's through your eyes. I might see it differently. I had someone in yesterday, and she'd actually said, "Oh, I see a draw here." I was like, "Well, I see a fade." She's like, "Why'd you see that?" So I explained why I saw it, and she's like, "Yeah, maybe it is fade." I said, "But if you see the draw, you go with what you see. It'll be a lot easier to hit." Yeah. So visualization, I think you can work at it. I don't think many players do it quite enough, if I'm honest. Yeah. And the kind of you always know what shot you should have hit when you hit a bad shot, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And what? I think the practice round is really important, isn't it? Because you might not have the right shot in your mind the first time you see the shot that you have to play, right? Yeah. But only when playing it 2, 3, 4 times and hitting those particular shots will the vision become apparent. You need to get to that point, and it's a process. I know what you're talking about, but and this is, I think, practice rounds for players. I think there's not much in the way of knowledge out there in terms of what to do in a practice round. I think every player is different, but I think they're quite often devoid of any process, really, aren't they? They think they know what they need to do, but
I couldn't agree more. I was literally at the end of what I was just saying there. I was going to say exactly the same. The practice round is so important, and yet they almost go and play it like they're just playing with the mates and don't actually take enough information down about what the hole requires, where's the best place to hit it, what, things like that, giving themselves the best option for when they tee it up on a Thursday. So I totally agree. I don't think there's enough knowledge out there. And do you know what? I was one of those players. I used to go and play it and not really care, just kind of see it. But then I look back at when I actually did well in tournaments, and we almost had a game, and there was a lot of competition on it. So you focused more on what you were actually doing, as opposed to, just hit one down here. And when we get to the green, I'll do a bit of chipping and see what it's like.
Yeah. Whereas I think that has its place, because you're kind of trying to gauge the speed of the golf course, aren't you? But I've witnessed it too many times at the elite junior level, where kids are playing these practice rounds, and they just look absolutely clueless out there, and they're not actually deciphering anything from what they're doing. And it's really difficult, I think. And that's something that I think we need to do a better job of as coaches.
I went to the Walker Cup when it was at Hoylake a couple of years ago, and I was chatting with Matt Fitzpatrick, because his brother Alex was playing, and I said, I think it was the Sunday, and I said, they look a bit flat. He said, I'm not surprised. I went, why? He said, because the practice rounds, it was 30-mile-an-hour winds, blowing a gale, bit of rain. He said they were playing 36 holes a day. He said, and the Americans were walking the course as a team and conserving their energy. But actually, by walking the course as a team, there's so much discussion going on. It's better than playing 36 holes, and you could see it on the Sunday. They were well up for it, and the GB&I lads looked absolutely shattered. And I thought, that's such poor man management, team management. And I'm thinking, what are these guys thinking to say, right, you're teeing off at 9 o'clock in the morning, then you're teeing off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon as well. Yeah. I mean, and that's exactly what we're talking about. It's almost a bit clueless, unknown what to do in practice rounds. But the Americans had it. Let's walk it as a team. Let's build as a team, and we all have our input on how we should play the hole.
Yeah, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Let's just jump over to Alex Vasey. Alex, hi mate, how are you? You've got a question for you, Simon. If you want to unmute and stuff, Alex, you can fire away.
Hi guys. I just wondered how much you learned from your caddies, and if they always gave you a fresh input to. Obviously, you said that to that girl you were teaching yesterday that you saw obviously a fade, she saw a draw, but how often did a caddy sort of what should we say, talk you out of something?
Do you know what? Caddy's one of those things. It's, if you find the right one, stick with them, because I was going to say it's like having a girlfriend. You always think there's one better out there, but do you know what? If you get one you get on well with, stick with them, because I had a guy called Guy Tilsden, and we were together 6 years. We won 6 times in 6 years. And, we just hit it off. And he used to pull me off shots certain times, wind changes, to do with shot shape and the delivery of the shot. He never really contradicted me, because I'm the player and I'm the one seeing the shot. So he would as probably a 12 handicapper, he would never say, well, I see a little fade in here, because he knew my capabilities. But what we did really well was we talked a lot. I mean, you see the top players discuss everything. So before every shot, he would literally say to me, right, what do you see here? And then I would talk him through the shot that I saw, which is reaffirming what I'm believing. And
so just making sure you're 100% committed to it.
Absolutely. And that was our biggest strength. And do you know what? Back in 2006, 2007, we were probably the only ones doing it. And we knew we were, but it worked for us. So, and now, I mean, you see everybody do it, and it's so powerful to verbalize your intention. But yeah, he was a great caddy, and we got on great, and that's another thing. You've got to get on great with them, because you spend more time with them than you do anybody else. So
do you bring him in, or get some of your students to talk to him and stuff? Is that still?
No. I'm actually going to. I'm going to do a couple of golf schools, and I'm going to get a couple of the caddies in. I'll get my caddy in. Someone like Billy Foster, absolute, legend in the caddy world. He's a great guy, and the fountain of knowledge. Somebody like him, and it's great for these players to, listen to guys who have been out there for so long and been so successful. I don't think there's enough of it, if I'm honest.
Because I always think that until someone explains it to you differently, you sort of feel, well, I've never seen that before, and it seems so simple, but someone with that little bit expert knowledge coming from a different angle just explains it differently, and you think, oh, that's much easier than what I was going to attempt or do.
I couldn't agree more. We're all kind of set in our ways and our beliefs. And when somebody with that much experience comes in and says, right, actually, it's this, and then it makes you reassess, and you look back and you go, oh, actually, yeah, he's right. And it's really powerful, but that's the only way you kind of progress, isn't it?
Yep.
I used to peck the heads of the top lads, Darren Clark, Lee Westwood, Podrick Harrington, because they'd all been there and done it. And I wanted to know what they knew. And it was the best thing I ever did. I used to play practice rounds. Fortunately, I was with Clarkey, Westwood in their stable. So I got to spend a lot of time with those boys, learning how to hit shots. What would you do here? Being with their caddies. Billy Foster was with Westwood at the time. You know, I can't think who was with Clark. He's had that many. But again, you know, you're surrounding yourself with people who know way more than you. So you can only learn from it. And that massively helped me.
No worries. Cheers, Simon.
Cheers, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Excellent stuff. Cool. Conscious of time, Simon. So let's move into the world of coaching now. And at what point did you decide that this was something that you thought was a great idea?
Right. I mean, I had my wrist injury in 2015. So I took 9-10 months out of the game. Came back in 16, didn't play that great. But while I was out with my wrist injury, I went and did the TPI certification. I went out to America to do that. And I loved it. And the fitness side of it had always really fascinated me. So I went and did that, and then played 2016, played poor, played 2017, played poor, lost my card, dropped down to Challenge Tour, played Challenge Tour. And it was there where I'm seeing these young lads on the driving range. I'm practicing next to them, and I'm watching them absolutely bomb it on the range and flush it. And I'm looking at the bags going, right, I'll remember his name. And I look and they've shot 76, 77. And I'm thinking, how has he shot that? And that's what got me thinking, God, I really feel like I could help these lads. And that was basically the moment. And I sat Chubby down and I just said, right, I think I'm going to call it a day, but this is the route I want to go down. And he was like, I couldn't agree more. He got me in like an interview at Mottram Hall, and you know they were happy to take me on board. But it was more when I was playing Challenge Tour, and I just thought I feel like I could really help these lads. You know what's going on in their head, that they hit it like that on the range, and then they're shooting 77s, and that was the moment really.
Brilliant. And you actually make me want to go and spend time with you and learn from you even more. And I think there's so much there. But you talked about Pete Cowan being a huge influence on you as a player. Now that you are coaching, what do you see from how he interacted with you from your coaching perspective now as opposed to from a player's perspective?
What have I taken from him, would you say?
Yeah.
He, like I said before, he used to keep it really simple with me, really simple. It was never technical. You know, I had my swing, I had my blueprint of my golf swing. We worked a lot more on what we actually wanted to do with the golf ball, as opposed to what do I want my club to do, or where do I want my right arm tucked in the backswing, things like that. We work more on, right, hit me this shot. And he'd make it hard. He'd be talking in my backswing, you know, saying, you, what are you trying to hit this for? You can't hit this shot. You know, a little bit of barricade. And then I'd hit the shot and he'd rate it like 6 out of 10. And it was it was a pure shot. And he just constantly, he made it fun, and he made it hard at the same time. And that's what I loved about it. There was a personal touch with Pete. You know, I always remember I saw him on a range somewhere and he came up and gave me a hug. And Mike Walker, who was his understudy at the time, was like looking at me going, I went, what's up? He went, I can't believe he's just hugged you. I went, why? He went, he doesn't hug his own kids, you know. So, and he's hugged you. I'm like, well, I've been with him for 20 odd years. So there was just that personal touch. He was my mentor massively. And I owe everything that I did in the game to him. And I want to give that to the players that I look after. I want them to be my friend, and I want to really look after them and take them under my wing and just try and guide them, especially the ones who really want it. You know, just try and guide them, let them learn from their mistakes, but also help them get past those mistakes and move on and progress.
Yeah. What was your coaching like when you were 14 and developing into an elite player? What were you on a specific type of journey with him, or was it a bit more casual than that?
A lot more casual. It was, he always saw my potential, and you know, he used to say to me, he'd set a challenge up. We'd have like England get together or a Yorkshire get together, and he'd set challenges up. And then he'd say, right, who wants to go? And he said, Dice, you were always the first one to want to have a go. And he went, that's invaluable. You know, you're not afraid to make a mistake, to try and learn from it. He said, you were always the one who went, I'll do it. And he said, as soon as I saw that, he went, I knew you'd be successful. He said, because you've either got that or you haven't. You know, there's the guys who are like, oh God, I don't really want to have a go at this, you know, in case I mess up. And he said, you were totally the opposite. And he went, that's what stood you apart from that group. And I see it in my players as well. I do these sessions where I get 6 of them in, and I'm like, right, who wants to go first? And I see the one who goes, oh, I'll do that. So I've kind of copied him in a way, but I know how valuable it is to seeing who actually isn't afraid to fail to then want to succeed. Yeah. And I think that's a massive part in it.
That's brilliant. What was your handicap when you were 14, when you first started working with him?
I think I was about 2. I think I got down to scratch when I was just before I was 16, but I was about 2 or 3, something along those lines.
Do you think that, you know, that improvement over those couple of years was down to you and your natural ability, or was that more down to some of the things he was talking to you about?
I'd say a bit of both. You know, there were certain aspects of my game that he helped me with massively. Short game, for instance. And I was a typical 14-year-old lad. You know, I got on the range. Within 10 shots on the range, I had my driver out. You know, a typical 14-year-old lad. And he actually was the one who said, right, you know, you're a good player, you're a good ball striker, you know, you could, you know, you've got a good chance, but this is what will make you get to the top. Not that, you already do that well enough. He went, this is the part. And it was more pitching, short game, putting. And that's what we really kind of focused on. And I mean, Pete's got an unbelievable short game, and the way he coaches it, I love. And I love coaching short game because everything he taught me, I try and pass on now, and it blows people away. And but that was the part that he really made me look and go, right, I need to spend more time on this.
Yeah. You lost your card in 2003, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would Coach Simon Dyson say to player Simon Dyson in 2003 now?
I mean, it'd be nothing but positives. I think I'd talk about how you're good enough to have got there. So this is it's a journey you're on. And although we want to stay in the present, you've still got to have your long-term goals. And it is just a little blip in getting to where you want to actually get to. And I'll be honest, that's kind of how I felt about it when I'd lost my card. I didn't go home and sulk or anything. You know, I was disappointed, don't get me wrong. And I was more disappointed for like the people around me who were gutted, like my parents, they were gutted. But I was like, well, I've had it once, you know, I've done this, I can get it again. And I got it within 3 starts the following year, you know, so it's how you react to it again, isn't it? It's how you react to something like that. Do you look at John Rahm a couple of weeks ago, gets told he can't play the final round, even though he's leading the tournament by a mile, and then goes and wins, you know, a major a couple of weeks later. That's exactly, it's not on the same scale whatsoever, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. Do you deal with it and move on and look at more further ahead? Or do you sulk for a couple of weeks and think, oh, where am I going to go from here? And I was more the John Rahm mindset, where I just got on with it. And yeah.
So Pete's obviously been a great influence on your life in so many areas. What mannerisms have you adopted as you begin your coaching journey from Pete? Can you identify those? Anything quirky?
No, I don't think there is, to be fair. I think Pete's one on his own, isn't he? You know, it's hard to replicate him. I did used to look, he was a hard man to please, but in quite a funny way as well. Like, he'd tell you to hit a shot and you'd hit it perfect. And he'd go, yeah, not bad. You know, he'd never say, great shot. Whereas when somebody actually hits the shot that they're trying to hit to perfection, not to perfection, but exactly how they want to hit it, I want to let them know that it's a really good shot. You know, it boosts the confidence a bit, and yeah, I'm a little bit more forgiving than Pete, I've got to be honest.
Very good.
But great coach, great guy.
Yeah. No, his record is phenomenal, isn't it? So, what other influences now impact who you are becoming as a coach? I mean, the journey towards becoming a great golf coach is never ending, right? You're always learning and developing. So, who are you learning from, and how are you evolving into the coach that you want to be?
It's funny how when I first started, it was more of an all-round package. It was like, you'd come in for a day, I'd work on the fitness side of things, then we'd go on the range, we'd look at a few swing mechanics, and then we'd go on short game, look at that, and then get out on the course. And the more I did that, the more I thought, it's the course where we're actually learning the most, where I take them out for 9 holes, things like that. And then obviously during lockdown, we couldn't do anything. And I started looking into the psychology of sport, and it's absolutely fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can relate my career more to how I was mindset than anything else. You know, I look at when I played my best, I was so external, it was frightening. You know, not thinking about what I was doing with the club. I was literally thinking, right, I want to hit a 5-yard fade here, and then hitting the 5-yard fade, not even thinking how I do it. So, and obviously I've looked more into it, and the best sportsmen in the world, when they're at the peak and they're in the flow, are all external. They're not thinking about anything except what they want to do with the ball. So to me, that is absolutely fascinating. So I've looked into other sports, and I feel like I want to go more down the, you know, less technical, more mindset. I know the swing, but I'm not you know, somebody like yourself would know 10 times more about the golf swing than I do. So I want to go more down the, right, you're a good player, your swing's ingrained, let's start looking at it a little bit differently and more about, you know, what you want to do with the ball. What's your mindset stepping into the shot? How do you feel when you hit a bad shot? And why do you feel like that? Things like that. So you kind of start at one place and think, this is what I want to do. Then you go, actually, no, this is what I want to. I want to teach more short game. No, I want to do more on the course. And now it's more mindset, but I'm really stuck on the mindset part of things.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And I think the mindset comes into play once you've got the technical skills, doesn't it? Because you've got to have the ability to do certain things that you need to do.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wanted to just briefly talk about, because it would be remiss of us not to talk about football. With the country going absolutely bonkers at the moment. I apologise if anybody watching is not an England supporter or can identify with around football. But I tell you what, I was very impressed with last night was actually the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game in extra time. And that mentality that we're talking about it looked as if that was the calmest that the team was in out of the whole, period of time that they were playing that game, which is kind of weird, isn't it? Because we never associate calmness with an England football team. What did you see from that?
No, I saw the same. Like, if you're anxious and you want to get something done, there was quite a lot of space in that last 5 minutes for England to go and get that third, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But that's almost like coming down the last hole and it's a par 5 and you can reach in 2 and you just think, well, I'm clear. I'll just do what I know I can do. I'll hit an 8-iron layup and I'll wedge it on, and win that way instead of taking that gamble. So I thought they looked really calm, like you say, that last 5 minutes. And it's so important because everyone else is seeing that, and it runs throughout the backroom staff, the fans, the country. Everybody's seeing that. So, I mean, we're obviously playing Italy on Sunday, and I said it before this game. I can't see us not winning it. I really can't. I feel like we're looking at a very, very different team to previous years. And Southgate's done an unbelievable job, and everybody's been, there's a guy he's stuck to what he believes, and he's not been influenced by anybody. I feel golfers get influenced by a lot of outside people, and there's a guy who knows what he wants to do. He's set his stall out. He's got his plan, and first final in 55 years. So you can't say it's not working.
Yeah. Very single-minded. I think he's the perfect coach and the perfect caddy at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
And the relationships he builds with the players, there's total trust. And I think that's really important, you can identify last night in that sport, the similarities between the ups and downs of a round of golf and reacting to setbacks. And I thought England reacted very well to the setback of conceding the first goal that they conceded in the whole tournament. And I thought they dealt with the challenges that they were faced extremely well last night. And it's the same on the golf course, isn't it? It's not a game of perfect, and you're never going to not make mistakes, and you always have to react to bad shots. And of course, the secret to it is not following a bad shot with another bad shot, isn't it? So, certainly fascinating for sure.
Well, we talk when I'm touched upon Ernie Els. I look at acceptance as a massive, massive part of the game. Do you know what? Everybody gets annoyed, but some have the ability to get annoyed, accept what's happened and move on. Some take it to the next hole. So they're not actually accepting what's happened. And I feel like when England went 1-0 down, that was kind of an acceptance part. All right, we've accepted. There's that goal. It was going to happen at some point. Right, let's get on now. And they came back straight away, had a couple of great chances, scored one. But that's the whole thing about just moving on and getting on with it. Yeah. And that's what the top boys in golf do better than anybody for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, do you think that the better players are those who show less emotion, or don't you think that matters?
No, I mean, you look at John Rahm and he shows loads of emotion. Patrick Reed has shown it, you know, in Ryder Cups, things like that. Rory McIlroy shows it. Then you've got Dustin, who, you know, you've got to put a mirror under his nose to, you know, to make sure he's breathing because he's so chilled. It's frightening. So again, it's, you know, sometimes people want to get that anger out and move on, don't they? So
Yeah.
But they all have that ability to be able to move on, and that's the key thing.
Yeah. Cool. So just conscious of time as we're just drawing this to a close. It's been an amazing conversation, Simon. I'm so grateful for this, but just want to see or learn a little bit more about what the future holds for you, what direction you're going in, and how you plan to continue to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always trying to learn. You know, I've spoke to you a lot about it, and the key to being a good coach is constantly learning, because everything's, you know, we're learning new things about how we move, how we think about certain things. We're learning new stuff all the time. So I always like to read, you know, look on the internet about new studies, things like that. I'm not quite in the Stuart Morgan, you know, somebody like him. I mean, his knowledge is frightening. It's unbelievable. But again, I love speaking to him, and he loves speaking to me from a player's point of view, and I love speaking to him from a coach's point of view. So it works really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, just trying to evolve and be the best coach that I can be, really. You know, I've got a really good opportunity to take my academy abroad as well, which I'm probably going to do, and just kind of branch out a bit. So I'm really looking forward to what the future holds, to be honest, because, you know, it's a pleasure for me to, you know, when we pick up the phone together, for me to talk to you about certain things as well. And you know, I thank you for that, because it certainly helps.
Yeah, we're certainly really grateful as well. And I enjoy talking to you because you just come from such a unique situation. And I think how you evolve over the next few years is going to be brilliant to witness and to watch, because, as I said earlier, you know, having a 6-time European Tour winner becoming that golf coach makes you very unique. And I think the experiences that you can pass on to all types of player will be just amazing to watch and fascinating to see. So yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? You know, as you're kind of embarking on this new life and new career, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Really excited. I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds, to be honest.
Brilliant. Well, look, our time has drawn to a close. Look, thanks very much for joining us on Under the Hat. And thank you to everybody that is watching today. It's been such a great discussion. So good luck in the future. We'll be watching with interest. And who's your pick for the Open next week?
I don't think Kopka will be far off, if I'm honest. But I've gone for a little cheeky outside each way bet on Ricky Fowler.
Ooh, is he even playing golf nowadays?
Well, he's going to be a dad, and I think he played all right last week in America, yeah. And he knows how to play links golf.
He does.
And I remember when my missus told me that we were going to have a baby. It was the Tuesday of the Irish Open, and I won it. So I just thought I'd best start.
There's the secret, boys and girls. Have babies, win more tournaments.
You know what, Gav? It's happened quite a lot with a few different players as well. So
Sergio,
he started to show a bit of form last week, and he loves links golf. And yeah, he did all right in St George's last time it was here.
Yeah, he nearly won it, didn't he?
Yeah, I've gone for a little cheeky each way bet on him.
That's a great shout. That's a great shout. So you heard it here first, folks. Go and put the money on Ricky Fowler for next week. All right, Simon. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thanks
Really
very much.
appreciate it. Have a great day. All right.
And you.
See you, everybody.